Zira watched from her hidden observation post as the strange vessel descended through the clouds of planet Tyre 7. The ship was unlike any she had seen before in her 50 cycles. As a xenobiologist, its hull gleamed with an unfamiliar metal that seemed to absorb the purple light of the twin suns rather than reflect it. Something about this ship made her 6 hearts beat faster. Her antenna twitched nervously as she adjusted her camouflage cloak. The Galactic Alliance had classified this sector as restricted after the mysterious disappearance of 3 research teams, but Zira had never been one to follow rules. Especially when there were new species to discover, the ship landed with surprising grace for its bulky appearance. A hatch opened on its side and Zira held her breath as a figure emerged. A human. Zira nearly dropped her recording device. Humans were supposed to be myths, creatures of legend that elder scientists used to frighten young researchers, tales of beings from a forgotten world who possessed technology beyond comprehension and unpredictable emotions. Yet there one stood. The human female moved with a confident stride that suggested comfort in the planet's higher gravity. Her skin was a warm brown color, her head adorned with curly dark hair that bounced with each step. Zira noticed the human wore no breathing apparatus, despite Tyre 7's nitrogen-heavy atmosphere. Zira crept closer, keeping to the shadows of the crimson vegetation that covered the hillside she needed. A better recording, the scientific community would never believe her without evidence. The human stopped suddenly and turned her head, looking directly at Zira's hiding spot. Impossible, no species could detect through a cloaking field. Kate knew something. Was watching her 15 years of exploration missions had honed her instincts to a razor edge. She casually adjusted the scanner on her wrist, confirming what her gut already told her. Something intelligent lurked among those strange red ferns. She continued her survey, pretending not to notice while slowly moving closer to the hidden observer. This was exactly why she had volunteered for this mission after the disappearance of the previous teams. The Alliance needed someone who could make first contact without causing panic. Kate had studied every recorded alien encounter in human history. She knew that fear was the enemy of peaceful relations. Zira panicked as the human approached her position. The legend said humans could sense fear, could read minds, could destroy worlds with a thought. Surely these were exaggerations, but the human's purposeful movement toward her hiding spot was unnerving. Should she run, reveal herself, maintain her cover? All 3 options seemed equally terrifying. Decision was made for her when her foot dislodged a stone, sending it tumbling down the slope. Kate heard the small rock slide and smiled. So her watcher was physical, not some kind of energy being good that made things simpler. She raised her empty hands in the universal gesture of peace and spoke in a calm voice. "I come in peace, I know you're there. I just want to talk." Zira's translator implant processed the sounds with a slight delay. The human spoke a language unlike any in the Alliance database, yet somehow the words formed perfectly in Zira's mind. Zira hesitated, then slowly deactivated her camouflage field. The human showed no surprise at her appearance, no fear at her 8 limbs or iridescent scales, just a warm expression that Zira's cultural database suggested indicated pleasure or welcome. "You understand me?" asked the human. "Yes," replied Zira. "Our technology allows communication. My name is Zira, senior researcher of the Alliance Science Division." Kate smiled. "I'm Kate, Expeditionary Scout for Earth Forces. I've been looking for someone like you." Zira took a step back. Forces, the word triggered alarm. The legends always mentioned human warriors, their unstoppable armies. The human named Kate seemed to sense her distress. No, not like that," she said quickly. "I'm here to help my people. Want peaceful contact. The teams that came before us. What happened to them?" Zira relaxed slightly. The human seemed genuinely concerned. "The predators took them." She explained. "The ones who live beneath the surface. They hunt anything with technology. They're drawn to it. The Alliance declared this planet forbidden after losing contact." Kate nodded thoughtfully. This explained the odd energy readings her ship had detected underground. "I think our peoples need to talk," she said. "My ship has defenses against these predators. You'd be safe there. We could establish proper communication between our species." Zira hesitated. Everything she knew about protocol warned against entering an unknown vessel with an unclassified species, but everything she had dreamed of as a scientist pushed her toward this unprecedented opportunity. Humans were real, and this one wanted to talk. The sound of burrowing from beneath interrupted her thoughts. The ground trembled, slightly. The predators whispered Zira. "They've detected your ship," Kate reacted instantly, grabbing Zira's upper limb. "Come with me now or we both die here." They ran toward the ship as the ground behind them erupted with massive segmented creatures there, metallic pincers snapping at the air. Kate pulled a small device from her belt and pressed it. A shimmering field extended around them, deflecting a spray of acid from one of the predators. Zira had never moved so fast in her life. The human's strength surprised her. Kate practically carried her the last 50 meters to the ship. The hatch opened automatically as they approached and sealed behind them with a reassuring hiss. The predators slammed against the hull but couldn't penetrate. Inside, Zira stared in wonder at technology, centuries beyond Alliance capabilities. Holographic displays showed the creatures surrounding the ship. Weapons systems she couldn't comprehend stood ready but unused. "You didn't kill them," Zira noted with surprise. Kate shrugged. "We try not to kill unless absolutely necessary," she said, checking a display. "Those things are just protecting their territory in their own way." She turned to Zira with a smile that somehow conveyed both excitement and reassurance. "So, Senior, researcher Zira ready to make history. The first official contact between humans and the Alliance. I think we have a lot to learn from each other." Zira felt her scientific curiosity overcome her fear. The human myths had been wrong. Humans weren't. The monsters of legend? They were something much more interesting. They were complex, contradictory, adaptable eyes. She replied, her voice steadier than she expected. "I'm ready." As the ship rose above the surface, leaving the frustrated predators behind, Zira felt her inner membranes flutter with excitement. This was the discovery of a lifetime. The ship accelerated smoothly, breaking through the atmosphere in moments. Zira watched through a view screen as her purple world shrank beneath them, revealing the curve of the planet she had studied for so many cycles but never seen from this perspective. "Beautiful, isn't it?" asked Kate, joining her at the view screen. "Beyond words," Zira admitted. "I've seen images from our orbital satellites but never experienced the ascent myself." Kate smiled. "Most species feel the same way the first time seeing their homeworld from space changed humanity forever." She paused. "We call it the overview effect. It makes you realize how small and precious everything is." Zira nodded, feeling a new connection with this strange human despite their physical differences. Some experiences transcended species. A soft chime sounded, and Kate glanced at a nearby console. "We're approaching my mothership," she explained. "You'll be the first Alliance member to see it." The view screen shifted and Zira gasped. A massive vessel hung in orbit around Tier 7. It dwarfed any Alliance ship she had ever encountered. Its design suggested both elegance and formidable power. "That's the Terran exploration vessel Horizon," Kate said with evident pride. "Home to 5,000 crew members and the flagship of our contact division." Zira's scientific mind raced with questions. 5,000 humans in orbit around a restricted planet. How had Alliance sensors missed this? Why were they here? What did they want? As if reading her thoughts, Kate continued. "We've been studying your Alliance from a distance for several years. We have stealth technology that your sensors can't detect. We wanted to understand your civilization before making contact." Zira felt a chill run through her exoskeleton. The legends spoke of human deception, of their ability to hide in plain sight. Had they been watching the Alliance all along? Were they preparing for war? Kate noticed. Her reaction and her expression softened. "Zira, I understand your concern, but I promise our intentions are peaceful. We could have attacked the Alliance years ago, if that was our goal instead. We've been learning your languages, studying your cultures, trying to find the best way to introduce ourselves without causing fear." The small ship docked smoothly with the larger vessel. A door slid open, revealing a corridor lined with more humans, all watching Zira, with expressions of what her translator interpreted as curiosity and excitement. "Welcome to the Horizon," said Kate as she guided Zira forward. "This is just the beginning of something amazing." Zira followed Kate through the corridors of the Horizon, her 8 limbs moving carefully on the unfamiliar flooring. Human crew members stepped aside respectfully, some nodding and greeting, others simply watching with wide eyes. Zira's cultural database struggled to interpret their expressions, but she detected no hostility. Kate led her to a large circular room with a domed ceiling that displayed what appeared to be real-time images of space beyond the ship. Several humans sat at various stations, but they all paused their work when Zira entered. "This is our command center," Kate explained, "and this is our captain, Lily Scotta." Human female with short gray hair stepped forward, her posture straight and formal. "Welcome to the Horizon, researcher. Zira," she said, "we've been hoping to establish contact with the Alliance for some time." Zira performed the traditional Alliance greeting gesture, lowering her upper limbs and raising her sensory stalks. "I am honored, Captain, though I must inform you that I am here unofficially. The Alliance Council does not know of my presence or yours." Captain Scott nodded, understanding. "We expected as much, which is why we've maintained our stealth protocols. We hope to find someone like you, someone open-minded, enough to facilitate proper introduction." Zira's scientific curiosity overwhelmed her caution. "How have you hidden a vessel this size from Alliance sensors? We have monitoring stations throughout this sector." The captain exchanged glances with Kate. "Before responding, we have developed technologies that allow us to exist slightly out of phase with normal spacetime," she explained. "It's not invisibility exactly, more like we're vibrating at a frequency. Your instruments can't detect." Zira's translator struggled with some of the concepts, but she understood enough to be astonished. Such technology would revolutionize Alliance science if humans were willing to share it. A new human entered the command center, a female with pale skin and red hair, carrying what appeared to be a data device. "Captain, the analysis of the subterranean predators is complete." "They're artificial?" The captain frowned. "Artificial? You mean they're machines?" The red-headed human nodded. "Created to target and eliminate technology, specifically the kind used by the Alliance and similar to early human tech. They're programmed hunters designed to prevent technological advancement on this planet." Zira felt her exoskeleton tighten with shock. Artificial, the Alliance had lost 3 research teams to what they believed were native predators. But if they were created, that meant someone doesn't want us here. Zira whispered, her voice barely audible. Even to her own hearing glands, someone deliberately placed those things to keep us away from this planet. But who? The implications were disturbing. The Alliance had assumed the predators were a natural part of Tier 7's ecosystem, but manufactured hunters suggested interference from an advanced civilization with hostile intent toward both the Alliance and possibly humans. Captain Scott turned to Zira. "This changes things. We need to contact your Alliance Council immediately. These attacks weren't random. They were targeted." Zira hesitated. Her unauthorized expedition could cost her position, perhaps even lead to criminal charges, but lives were at stake if another civilization was targeting Alliance worlds. Her people needed to know. "I will help you," she decided, "but we must be careful. The Council is conservative and fearful of outside influences, especially ones as advanced as yours. They might react badly." Kate stepped forward, suggesting we could begin with a smaller contact group. Perhaps the science division, they'd be most likely to approach this rationally. "Captain," Scott nodded, then looked at Zira. "Do you know anyone in authority who might listen without immediately raising alarm?" Zira thought for a moment. "My research supervisor, Professor Mira. She's respected throughout the Alliance and has always been more progressive than most. She might listen, especially if I present evidence of the artificial predators." A distant alarm suddenly blared through the ship. Red lights flashed along the corridor walls. "Captain, we have multiple unidentified vessels dropping out of faster-than-light travel near Tier 7. Reported a human at one of the monitoring stations. They're not Alliance design." "How did they find us?" demanded the captain. "They're tracking researcher Zira's personal beacon," said Kate, looking at a handheld scanner. "Every Alliance scientist has one for emergency extraction. Zira's is still active." Zira felt her heart sink with guilt. "I forgot to deactivate it after leaving my research post." Such a basic mistake. The captain moved quickly to a central console. "Show me the approaching vessels." The dome above them shifted, displaying several angular ships with distinctive purple energy signatures. Zira recognized them immediately and felt fear course through her body. "Vex hunters." She gasped. "They're mercenaries who work for the Alliance Security Division. They must have detected my beacon in a restricted zone." "How dangerous are they?" asked Captain Scott? Her voice calm, despite the situation. Extremely dangerous, replied Zira. They use forbidden weapons and neural disruptors they're sent when the Alliance wants something retrieved without official involvement. They have authorization to eliminate any non-Alliance life forms. Captain Scott issued orders quickly. Lily, take researcher Zira to the secure laboratory and retrieve any data you can about these artificial predators. Sam, prepare the horizon for possible engagement, but maintain stealth protocols as long as possible. We need more time, Kate. Nodded and gestured for Zira to follow her. They moved quickly, through the corridors heading deeper into the massive ship. I'm sorry, whispered Zira. I've endangered your vessel and crew. Kate shook her head. You couldn't have known we'd find evidence of artificial predators. This isn't your fault. She paused at an intersection, checking a display before continuing. But we need to move quickly. The Vex hunters will board any Alliance vessel in the area searching for you. They reached a laboratory filled with equipment Zira didn't recognize. Kate quickly moved to a central console and began accessing data. We've been studying the predator remains we collected, Zira. We've confirmed they were manufactured approximately 200 years ago, using technology that shares elements with both Alliance and human. Design but isn't exactly like either. Zira moved closer, examining the images on the screen. That's impossible. Humans and the Alliance had no contact. 200 years ago. Exactly, said Kate, which means someone else has been monitoring both our civilizations. For centuries, someone with advanced technology and apparently hostile intent. The implications made Zira's sensory stalks tremble with anxiety. If Kate was right, a third advanced civilization existed, one that had deliberately kept humans and the Alliance apart by creating monsters, specifically designed to attack their technology. Why, asked Zira, what purpose would that serve? Kate shrugged. We have theories. Maybe they see both our species as potential rivals. Maybe they're conducting some kind of experiment studying how different technological species develop in isolation. Maybe they just enjoy watching us struggle against their creations. The ship suddenly shuddered around them. They've found us, said Kate, her expression grim. The Vex hunters must have detected our energy signature. Another human burst into the laboratory. Captain says we need to evacuate now. She ordered the Vex hunters have deployed some kind of phase-matching technology. They can see us. Kate grabbed a small device from a nearby table and handed it to Zira. This contains all our data on the predators and their origins. Take it to Professor Mira. If we get separated, Zira accepted the device, clutching it with one of her upper limbs. Where will we go? The human named Lily, who had just entered, responded. We have a smaller stealth vessel prepared. It can take you both to the Alliance capital. While the horizon draws away the hunters, they moved quickly through corridors now filled with humans rushing to emergency stations. The ship shuddered again, more violently this time. They're firing on us, reported Lily as they reached a small docking bay where a sleek vessel waited, its hatch open. Zira hesitated at the entrance, turning back to look at Lily. Will your people be safe? Lily gave what Zira's translator identified as a reassuring smile. The horizon is tougher than it looks, and Captain Scott has escaped worse situations. We'll rendezvous with you after we lose the Hunter's Gate, guided Zira into the smaller ship and moved to the pilot's controls. The hatch sealed behind them, and with a slight lurch they separated from the horizon. Through a view screen, Zira watched as the massive human ship activated some kind of energy field, then seemingly vanished. From normal space, the Vex Hunter vessel circled in apparent confusion before turning toward the planet's surface. They're going after the predator site, said Kate. They must know something about them. Zira felt her scientific mind racing with questions and theories. Everything she thought she knew about the galaxy was changing. Humans were real. A third unknown civilization had been manipulating both humans and the Alliance, and now she was fleeing with a human to bring this evidence to her people. Kate activated the ship's faster-than-light drive. Hold on, she warned, this might feel strange to you. The stars outside stretched into lines of light as the small vessel jumped away from Tier 7, leaving behind the Vex hunters and the horizon, carrying Zira toward an uncertain future, and what would surely be the most significant first contact in Alliance history. The small human ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel near a massive space station that Zira recognized as Outpost 7. a research facility on the edge of Alliance territory, far from the central worlds and their heavy security. Why here? Asked Zira, as Kate guided the vessel toward a docking port. Professor Mira is stationed at the Central Science Academy on Valeria. Prime Kate kept her focus on the navigation controls. Professor Mira isn't on Valeria Prime, she explained quietly. She's been secretly stationed here for the past 3 months investigating unusual energy readings. Zira's sensory stalk stiffened in surprise. How could you possibly know that Alliance research assignments are classified? Even I didn't know she had been reassigned. The human gave Zira a sideways glance. We've been monitoring Alliance communications for years. Zira, it was necessary to understand your civilization before making contact. Zira felt a mixture of alarm and admiration at the humans' technological capabilities and their patience. The legends had always portrayed humans as impulsive creatures driven by emotion rather than logic. But Kate and her people had spent years carefully studying the Alliance, preparing for this moment. The docking procedure went smoothly. Kate used Alliance security codes that shouldn't have been available to any non-Alliance species, yet they worked perfectly, granting them access to an auxiliary maintenance port rarely used by regular personnel. We need to be careful, said Kate as they prepared to leave the ship. Alliance security may not know about humans, but they'll definitely detain any unauthorized visitors. Bring only what you absolutely need. Zira gathered the data device containing information about the artificial predators and activated her translator implant. She hesitated, then removed her Alliance identification badge. If they were trying to avoid detection, carrying her official credentials would only make things worse. Kate produced what looked like a simple cloak from a storage compartment. Put this on. She said it will help mask your biosignature from security scanners. They're calibrated to detect Alliance species, but might still register you as unusual. The cloak felt strange against Zira's exoskeleton, but she wrapped it around herself as instructed, following Kate through the airlock and into the station outpost. 7 was less crowded than the major Alliance facilities. Its corridors housed primarily research personnel rather than military or administrative staff still. Zira kept close to Kate as they navigated through the station, avoiding the main thoroughfares and using maintenance passages whenever possible. How will we find Professor Mira? Asked Zira, her voice low. Kate tapped a small device on her wrist. She's in Research Lab 12 according to the station's personnel assignments. We need to go up 2 levels and across to the eastern section. They reached a vertical transport tube used by maintenance drones. Kate quickly overrode its security protocols, allowing them to enter. Once inside, Zira noticed how Kate's movements were precise and economical. No wasted energy. No hesitation. She moved like someone who had trained extensively for missions in unfamiliar territory. The legends said humans were warriors. Zira thought perhaps there was truth to that. After all, the transport tube deposited them on a quieter level. Kate checked her device, then pointed down a dimly lit corridor that way. 3 minutes until the next security sweep. They moved quickly, passing several closed laboratory doors until they reached one marked with Alliance symbols for biological research and restricted access. Kate examined the security panel beside the door. This will be tricky, she murmured. It requires Alliance genetic verification. Zira stepped forward. I can try. My access might still work. Despite my unauthorized expedition, before she could press her limb against the panel, the door slid open, revealing a tall Alliance female, with silvery scales and prominent sensory ridges. Her eyes widened at the sight of Zira and the human beside her. Zira, Professor Mira whispered in shock. What are you doing here? And what is that creature with you? Zira quickly moved inside, pulling Kate with her as the door closed behind them. It's not a creature, Professor, it's a human. Mira's scales flickered with disbelief, a color change that indicated extreme surprise. Humans don't exist, she said automatically. They're myths. Stories to frighten young researchers. Kate stepped forward. My name is Kate, expeditionary scout for the Terran exploration vessel Horizon, and I assure you, Professor, I am quite real. Myra backed away until she bumped against a laboratory table, her limbs trembling visibly. Impossible, she gasped. Humans are primitive beings from a forgotten world they couldn't possibly have developed. Space travel. Zira moved to her mentor's side. Professor, Please listen. We've discovered something important. Something that threatens both. The Alliance and humans. She held out the data device. We found evidence that the predators on Tier 7 were artificial, created by some unknown third party. Mira's scientific curiosity gradually overcame her shock. She accepted the device with a trembling limb. Artificial, she repeated. How is that possible? Our analysis indicated they were biological. They were designed to appear biological, explained Kate. But they contain synthetic components and programming. Their purpose was to eliminate any technological presence on the planet, specifically Alliance technology and early human technology. Mira connected the device to an Alliance data terminal. Watching as the information transferred, her color slowly shifted to the deep blue of intense concentration. As she reviewed the evidence, "This is impossible," she murmured. Yet the data is conclusive. There are synthetic components. Their attack patterns show clear programming parameters, and the technology. She paused, looking up at Kate with new understanding. The technology shows influences from both Alliance design principles and what must be human engineering concepts, but modified and far more advanced than either. The implications are disturbing, said Zira. Someone has been studying both our species. For centuries, someone with technology far beyond our own, and they've been keeping us apart, added Kate, deliberately preventing contact between humans and the Alliance. Mira's color shifted again, this time to the pale gray of fear. Why, she asked. What purpose would that serve? Kate shook her head. We don't know for certain. But we have theories. Perhaps they see our combined knowledge as a threat. Perhaps they're conducting some kind of sociological experimenter. Perhaps they're preparing us, said a new voice from the doorway. Zira turned to see another Alliance researcher entering the laboratory, taller than Mira, with dark green scales and unusually large eyes that fixed on the human with intense curiosity. Counselor Vera gasped. Mira, her color shifting to alarmed orange. What are you doing here? The newcomer ignored Mira, focusing instead on Kate. Fascinating, she said, moving closer. A real human. The legends hardly do you justice. Zira felt Kate tense beside her, ready for possible danger. But, maintaining her calm exterior, "You're not surprised to see a human?" Zira observed something in the counselor's reaction. Seemed wrong, as though she had expected this encounter. Counselor Vera made a gesture that in Alliance culture indicated amusement. I've known about humans for decades, she admitted. I've been monitoring their progress since they first achieved faster-than-light travel. Mira's color shifted rapidly in confusion. Counselor, what are you saying? The Alliance has no official contact with humans. Unofficial contact, Vera corrected. I've kept my observations private, shared only with a select few who understand their importance. Kate stepped forward. You know about the artificial predators, she said. It wasn't a question. Vera's large eyes blinked slowly. Indeed, I know who created them as well. The laboratory fell silent. Zira felt her heart's racing. Who? She finally asked. Who would do such a thing? They call themselves the Architects, explained Vara. They contacted me 50 cycles ago. They've been guiding the development of both Alliance and human civilization for millennia. Mira's color drained to ashen gray. Treason, she whispered. You've been collaborating with an unknown species without council approval. Vera made a dismissive gesture. The council is short-sighted, concerned only with immediate benefits. The Architects take a longer view. They understand what both our species could become. And the predators demanded, Kate, her voice hard. Why create monsters to keep us apart? Vera turned her large eyes to the human. The Architects explained that humans and the Alliance needed to develop independently until both reached a certain technological threshold. Allowing contact too soon would have been disastrous for both civilizations. Zira's scientific mind raced with possibilities. There was logic in the argument. Many Alliance anthropologists theorized that premature contact between civilizations at different development stages often resulted in cultural destruction or technological stagnation, but to enforce that separation through artificial predators seemed extreme. And now asked Zira, have we reached this threshold? Vera's expression shifted to what Zira recognized as satisfaction. Precisely, the Architects have determined that the time is right for first contact. They arranged for your discovery of the human ship, researcher Zira. They guided you to each other. The revelation struck Zira like a physical blow. Her expedition to Tyre 7. Her discovery of Kate. All of it had been orchestrated. She hadn't made a great discovery. She had been manipulated. Kate seemed to reach the same conclusion. Her expression hardening. Who are these architects, she demanded, and what gives them the right to control our civilizations? We need proof, said Kate, breaking the heavy silence that had fallen over the laboratory after Vera's revelation. Not just your word, but actual evidence of these devourers, and the architects. Vara nodded as though she had expected this request. Humans are naturally skeptical. The architects told me that's one of your species' strengths. She moved to a secured terminal in the corner of the laboratory and placed her hand against its surface. The display illuminated with symbols Zira didn't recognize. The terminal isn't Alliance technology observed? Mira, her scales shifting to the purple of scientific curiosity. It was provided by the architects, explained Vera. It contains secure communications and data storage that can't be accessed by standard Alliance methods. The display changed, showing what appeared to be astronomical data. Star systems, planetary bodies, and strange energy patterns moving through space like currents in an ocean. This is a map of the Devourer's path, said Vara. Over the past 300 cycles they've moved through 17 star systems in the Andromeda sector. Each one previously home to advanced civilizations. Kate stepped closer, studying the display with intense focus. What happened to those civilizations? She asked Vara. Touched the screen, zooming in on a particular planet. This was the homeworld of the Lorians, an advanced species with technology comparable to current Alliance standards. The architects made contact with them, offered warnings and assistance, but the Lorian leadership rejected them, believing they could defend themselves. The image changed, showing the same planet but drastically altered its surface, scarred with massive excavations. Its cities in ruins. The Devourers arrived 120 cycles ago, continued Vara. They didn't attack with weapons as we understand them. Instead, they sent specialized drones that infected and transformed Lorian technology. The process took less than one planetary rotation. Within days, every piece of advanced technology on the planet was consumed, breaking down into component elements, and then those elements themselves were harvested. Zira felt her scientific mind struggling to comprehend the scale of such devastation. An entire civilization, reduced to ruins in days. What about the Lorian people? Asked Kate. Her voice quiet. Vara's expression darkened. Most died in the initial technological collapse. Their life support systems, transportation networks, and communication infrastructure all failed simultaneously. Those who survived the collapse faced a planet stripped of resources and returned to a primitive state, without the means to rebuild. Kate exchanged a glance with Zira, both clearly thinking the same thing. If this evidence was genuine, the threat was even greater than they had imagined. Mira studied the data with professional intensity. These energy signatures, she said, pointing to patterns flowing between star systems. What are they? Vera zoomed out, showing the larger movement. Patterns, they're what the architects call conversion waves, the means by which the Devourers transform matter and energy. The architects believe they operate on principles similar to both Alliance quantum field manipulation and human dark energy research, but far more advanced. And these architects, asked Kate, still skeptical. What do they gain by helping us? Vara's expression softened slightly. The architects were once like us, explorers, scientists, builders. They had established a peaceful federation, spanning 3 galaxies before the Devourers arrived. They lost 2 galaxies before developing the technology to hide the survivors escaped to our region of space. But they're too few now to fight directly. Instead, they seek to prepare other species. To resist the explanation made logical sense to Zira, but she shared Kate's caution. Too many questions remained. Too many coincidences in their discovery of each other. Why keep humans and the Alliance separate for so long? Asked Zira. If the threat is so great, wouldn't unity have made us stronger sooner? Vara shook her head. The architects studied thousands of potential development paths using predictive models beyond our comprehension. They determined that premature contact would lead to conflict between our species, wars over resources and territory that would weaken both civilizations. The artificial predators were regrettable, but necessary to ensure separate development Until both species reached the right technological and social readiness, Kate's expression remained skeptical. I noticed these architects prefer to work from the shadows, manipulating rather than simply approaching our leaders directly with this information. Why the secrecy? Vera's large eyes fixed on Kate. Most species react with fear and aggression to vastly superior technology. The architects learned this through painful experience. Their direct approaches were often met with violence or dismissed as tricks and deceptions. Working through intermediaries like myself allows for gradual acceptance. A sudden alert sound came from the terminal. Vera quickly checked the display, her expression growing concerned. "We have a problem," she said. "Alliance security has detected unusual energy signatures from this laboratory. They're sending a team to investigate." Kate moved immediately to the door, checking the corridor beyond. "How long do we have?" she asked, her posture shifting subtly, becoming more alert. "Ready for action. Minutes at most," replied Vera. "They'll use standard protocols. First a containment team, followed by specialists." Mira's scales shifted to alarmed orange. "We need to contact the Alliance Council directly," she insisted. "Show them this evidence bypassed the security teams." Vera shook her head. "The Council won't believe. Without preparation, they'll see the architects as a threat rather than allies. We need time to present this properly." Kate turned to Zira. "What about your ship? The Horizon, can they extract?" Zira activated her communication implant, trying to establish a secure connection to the human vessel, but encountered only static. "They're either out of range or being jammed," she reported. Vara moved quickly to a wall panel, pressing a hidden sequence that caused a section of the laboratory floor to slide open, revealing a passage beneath. "I prepared for this contingency," she explained. "This maintenance tunnel leads to a private docking bay where I keep a research vessel. We can use it to reach a secure location." Kate hesitated, clearly weighing their limited options. "Can your vessel outrun Alliance security ships?" she asked. Vera made a gesture of affirmation. "It was modified with architect technology. It's faster and has stealth capabilities, similar to your human ships." The sound of approaching security teams echoed from the corridor outside. Boots on metal. Rapid communications. The efficiency of Alliance security protocols that Zira had once found reassuring now felt threatening. "We have no choice," said Kate, moving toward the hidden passage. "Zira, Professor Mira, you need to decide quickly. Come with us or stay and face Alliance." Security. Mira's scales flickered with indecision. A lifetime of loyalty to Alliance protocols battling against the evidence she had just seen, and the threat it represented. "Professor," Zira pleaded, "we need your expertise. The Alliance needs you. This is bigger than protocols or regulations." Mira's color stabilized, resolving to determined blue. "I'll come," she decided. "But I want it noted that I do this to protect the Alliance, not to betray it." The four of them descended into the passage, Vera sealing it behind them just as the laboratory door opened, admitting Alliance security personnel. They moved quickly through narrow maintenance tunnels designed for automated repair drones. Rather than biological beings, Zira found herself grateful for her flexible exoskeleton as they navigated tight corners and narrow passage. "Show much farther?" asked Kate, her voice barely above a whisper. Vera pointed ahead just beyond that junction. "Is my private research bay. The vessel is ready for immediate departure." They emerged into a small docking area where a sleek ship waited. Unlike standard Alliance designs, this vessel had smooth organic curves and no visible propulsion systems. Its hull seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, reminding Zira of Kate's ship. But even more advanced, Vara approached the vessel, placing her hand on what appeared to be a seamless section of hull. A doorway materialized, opening to admit them once. Inside, Zira stared in amazement at the interior. No mechanical controls, no visible technology of any kind, just smooth surfaces that glowed with soft blue lights. "It anywhere," said Vera. "The ship responds to my thoughts directly." Another gift from the architects. Kate remained standing, her posture tense. "Where exactly are we going?" Vera settled into what appeared to be a central position, the ship humming to life around them. "To meet the architects directly. They're waiting at a neutral location beyond Alliance space. They're prepared to offer both our species the technology and knowledge to face the devourers." The ship detached from the station with no sensation of movement, no vibration or acceleration. only the changing view through what appeared to be transparent sections of hull indicated they were moving rapidly away from Outpost 7 Alliance vessels. "Will pursue us," warned Mira. "They'll consider this an act of treason," Vara made a gesture that in Alliance culture indicated certainty. "They won't catch us," she said, "and soon it won't matter. The architects will reveal themselves to both Alliance and human leadership. Simultaneously, using the evidence we've gathered." Zira moved to a viewing area, watching as the stars stretched into lines of light as the vessel accelerated beyond normal space. The familiar sensation of faster-than-light travel, yet somehow smoother, more stable than any Alliance ship she had experienced. Kate joined her at the viewport, her expression thoughtful. "We're taking an enormous risk," she said quietly, "trusting these architects based on Vera's word." The architect vessel emerged from faster-than-light travel near a small uncharted planetoid, floating in the void between star systems, its surface barren and lifeless, but surrounded by what appeared to be artificial structures gleaming in the distant starlight. "That's the architect's sanctuary," explained Vara as their ship approached a massive ring-shaped station that encircled the planetoid. Its design unlike anything Zira had ever seen, fluid and organic, yet clearly constructed of advanced materials that seemed to shift and change as she watched. Kate stood beside Zira at the viewport, her expression carefully neutral, but her body language betraying tension. "She's ready for trouble," thought Zira. "The human hasn't lowered her guard since we left Alliance space." Vara guided their vessel toward a docking area that opened like a flowering plant. As they approached, no mechanical doors or traditional airlocks, just seamless transformation of the station's structure to accommodate them. "Professor," Mira joined them. Her scales shifted to the deep blue of scientific fascination. "Remarkable," she whispered. "The material properties alone represent technology centuries beyond Alliance capabilities." The ship settled into the docking area without any perceptible contact or connection. Vera rose from her position. "The architects are waiting," she said. "They've prepared an environment suitable for both Alliance and human physiology." As the ship's doorway materialized, Kate positioned herself slightly ahead of Zira, a subtle protective gesture that Zira found both reassuring and touching. They stepped into a corridor that seemed to be composed of the same shifting material as the station's exterior, but here it had formed into a smooth pathway, leading deeper into the structure. No sharp angles or corners existed. Every surface flowed naturally into the next. "The gravity feels exactly like Earth standard," commented Kate, her eyes constantly scanning their surroundings, "and the atmospheric composition is precisely calibrated to Alliance norms," added Mira, checking a small device on her wrist. "They've studied our physiological needs in detail." Vera led them through a series of chambers, each one subtly different in coloration and texture, but all sharing the same organic flowing design. Finally, they entered a large circular space with a domed ceiling that displayed what appeared to be real-time images of distant galaxies swirling in cosmic dance. "The architects await," said Vera, gesturing toward the center of the chamber where three tall figures stood, their forms humanoid but clearly not human or Alliance. Their bodies seemed composed of the same shifting material as the station itself, their features fluid and changing as though they existed in a state of constant transformation. Zira felt a momentary vertigo looking at them, her visual processing system struggling to interpret beings that refused to maintain a fixed form beside her. Kate stood unnaturally still. Her breathing controlled, her hand hovering near a concealed pocket in her uniform. "Welcome," said one of the architects, its voice resonating not through the air, but directly in Zira's mind. A gentle presence that somehow conveyed both ancient wisdom and childlike curiosity. "We have waited many cycles for this meeting." Vara bowed deeply, showing a level of deference Zira had never seen from an Alliance counselor. "These representatives have seen the evidence of the Devourer threat," she explained, "but they seek direct confirmation." The architect who had spoken turned its attention to Kate, the human female examining her with what Zira interpreted as intense interest. "Humans are particularly fascinating to us. It communicated your species developed technology at an unprecedented rate, adapting and innovating with remarkable speed." Kate met the architect's gaze unflinching. "What exactly are you?" she asked directly, not bothering with diplomatic niceties. "Where do you come from?" Why should we trust you, Zira? Tensed at the bluntness of Kate's questions, but the architect seemed unperturbed, perhaps even pleased by her directness. Direct questioning, another human trait we admire, it responded. We were once biological beings not unlike yourselves. We evolved, over millions of years, eventually transcending our physical limitations to become what you see now. Beings of energy and matter existing simultaneously in multiple states. And the devourers asked Professor Mira, her scientific curiosity. Overcoming her initial caution, are they real? The architect turned its attention to Mira, its form shifting to mirror aspects of Alliance physiology, in what seemed an attempt to appear more relatable. They are very real. The architect confirmed they represent the greatest threat to sentient life in our galaxy. They consume technology, breaking it down to its component elements and absorbing those elements into themselves. With each civilization they consume, they grow stronger, more efficient, more difficult to resist. Why not fight them directly? Asked Kate. If you're so advanced, surely you have the technology to stop them. The architect's form rippled in what might have been the equivalent of a sorrowful expression. We tried. It communicated. We fought. A war that lasted 10,000 years and lost trillions of our kind. Now we are too few, our civilization reduced to refugees and survivors. Zira felt the weight of tragedy in the architect's response. The loss of an entire civilization dwarfed any conflict in Alliance history. What do you want from us? She asked finally. The question that had been foremost in her mind since learning of the architect's existence. The three architects moved closer, their forms shifting in synchronization, creating patterns of light and color that seemed to represent complex concepts beyond verbal language. We offer partnership. The first architect communicated. We will share our technology, our knowledge, our understanding of the devourers. In exchange, we ask that humans in the Alliance unite, combining your unique approaches to science and exploration. And what makes you think we can succeed where your advanced civilization failed? Asked Kate, her skepticism still evident. The second architect responded, its mental voice distinct from the first, more resonant, somehow richer with emotional overtones. Your species possess qualities we lack. Humans have unprecedented adaptability, creativity, intuitive leaps of understanding that defy logical progression, while the Alliance excels at methodical research, patience, and preservation of knowledge. Together, you represent a new approach to confronting the devourers. The third architect moved forward, its form shifting to display what appeared to be historical records projected directly into the air around them. Observe, it communicated. Images formed showing humans throughout their history, facing disasters, adapting, overcoming seemingly insurmountable obstacles. Beside these appeared Alliance historical records demonstrating their methodical colonization of planets, their careful preservation of knowledge, their patient scientific advancements. Separately, you are vulnerable. The first architect continued, but together, guided by our knowledge, you might succeed where we failed. Professor Mira stepped forward, her scales now the deep green of intense concentration. What specific technologies would you share? She asked. And what changes would be required in Alliance governance to accommodate this partnership? Kate shot Mira a warning glance, clearly concerned the professor was moving too quickly toward acceptance. But Zira understood her mentor's approach, gathering information before making judgments. The architect's forms shifted, creating complex patterns that resolved into technological schematics, defense systems, energy generation methods, faster than light propulsion beyond anything in Alliance or human capability. We offer immediate defensive technologies, explained the second architect, and gradually, more advanced knowledge as your civilizations demonstrate readiness. We do not wish to overwhelm you with concepts your current science cannot contextualize in governance. Asked Kate, her voice hard. What role would you play in our political systems? We seek no control over either human or Alliance governance. The third architect communicated. We offer guidance, only advice based on our experiences facing the devourers. Vara, who had been silent during this exchange, stepped forward. The architects have never requested political authority, she confirmed in my 50 cycles of contact with them. They have only offered knowledge, never demanded obedience. Kate remained unconvinced, her posture still alert, her expression skeptical. If you've known about this threat for so long, Why wait until now to bring our species together? Why the elaborate setup with artificial predators and orchestrated discoveries? The first architect's form shifted, becoming more humanoid as though attempting to appear. More trustworthy timing was essential. It explained premature contact between humans, and the alliance would have resulted in conflict, cultural contamination, potentially devastating wars. Our models predicted 17 different scenarios where early contact led to mutual destruction. And now ask Zero what changed. You did, replied the architect, both of you. The alliance reached a level of technological stability, while humans developed unprecedented adaptability. Your species are now complementary, rather than competitive. As the architect spoke, Zira noticed something strange. Subtle vibrations running through the station's structure, almost imperceptible but growing stronger. She saw Kate had noticed as well, the human's body tensing further, her eyes darting toward the exit. The architects suddenly ceased their display, their forms contracting, pulsing with what seemed like alarm. "They've found us," communicated the first architect, urgency evident in its mental voice. "The devourers have arrived. Earlier than our projections indicated,